Okay, so this is lecture 5, page 3. So let's do an example. We have f of x is equal to the square root of x plus 2 and g of x is equal to 3 divided by x squared. So we want to find with the domain g of f. So this is going to be equal to two pieces. We're going to have f on the outside, outside function, and on the inside we're going to put g. Okay, so what that means is that I'm going to have f of g, remember g is going to be 3 over x squared, so that's 3 divided by x squared. So now, everywhere I see x in f, I'm going to put 3 divided by x squared. So that's going to be the square root of 3 over x squared plus 2. Now we need to figure out what the domain is. So first of all, I can't take the square root of a negative number. So the first thing I'm going to note is that we need the inside piece to be positive. Well, we actually have 3 over x squared. Now think about this for a second. X squared is positive, always positive, and then so 3 divided by something positive is always positive, and plus 2 is always going to be positive. So actually, the inside is actually okay. But also note here that because of the division by 0 there, because of this issue here, x cannot be equal to 0. So, we also have that x can't be equal to 0. Now this is actually, by the way, I said it out loud, but let me just write it down. This is actually always true in this particular case because of the x squared and then the plus 2. So that's always greater than or equal to 0, or always greater than 0, not equal to. So our domain for this guy is going to be everything that's not 0. So the domain of f composed with g of x is going to be negative infinity to 0, don't include the 0, union 0 to infinity. Okay, now let's look at g of f. G of f is going to be, now we're going to have g on the outside, so that's going to be g is going to be the outside function, and the inside function is now going to be f of x. So let's see. So our outside function, let's see, is going to be the 3 over x squared. So basically just reverses the roles of g and f. So g of the square root of x plus 2. So that's going to equal to 3 divided by something squared, whatever I put in there, and that something is going to be dictated by the square root of x plus 2. So this whole thing should simplify down to 3 divided by the square and the square root. They cancel each other out, x plus 2. Now the domain of this, remember I have to look at each step. So the first thing I'm going to note here is that from this very first step, note that x plus 2 has to be greater than or equal to 0, so then x has to be greater than or equal to negative 2 at this particular step. And then at this step, I note that x cannot be equal to negative 2. So I have to consider both of these as I move along. So the domain of this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to need x to be greater than or equal to negative 2 and x not equal to negative 2. And if you put those two conditions together, really that just says x is just greater than negative 2. So my domain for f, or g of f, so g of f of x, which we said is 3 over x plus 2, the domain is negative 2 to infinity. Now again, the important part about this is as you create these functions, as you do each step, you have to ask yourself, what is the domain of each step? See, if I just went right to the end result and looked at the domain of just the end result, I'd get the wrong answer. I have to consider each step. to get the final answer.